What's good, everybody? It's D&B ENT, your boy Brandon. Hey man, today we're about to do a facts verse video. This one is titled 10 Longest Prison Sentences. Life, and life.
But
what gets longer than life?
These people have like 1,000-year sentences and stuff. That's what it says on the thumbnail.
What? So not even life, huh? Like you got 1,000 years, bruh. Oh, that's because somebody beat that.
What?
Somebody beat a life sentence before a long time ago. That's why they started to come up with you got 2 life sentences, because somebody was in prison and then like something happened to where they were ruled dead, and then like they came back to life somehow. I forgot, I swear. And then they was like, I served my life sentence, and they like got out or something crazy. I'm telling you. I heard something like that. I read something like that.
Double life, and I never understood what that means.
That's why they started doing. You got a double life sentence because somebody had a life sentence, and then something happened to them to where they died. Like their heart started.
And they said, "Oh, that's on."
yeah. I served my life, right? I died in prison.
I don't believe that.
I'm telling you.
You see that movie or something?
Oh no, I read it. I've seen it. I saw. But anyway, you ready to hop into it?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Wait.
Factsverse presents 10 Longest Prison Sentences. Number 1. Ariel Castro. Life plus 1,000 years. This is one of the 10 longest prison sentences, and it was well deserved.
What?
Everyone thought Ariel Castro was just a typical father and a hard-working bus driver. What they didn't know is that he was holding 3 young girls captive in his home for years.
Ew.
When Amanda Berry, one of his prisoners, was able to escape and alert the police, Ariel was arrested. For his crimes, he was sentenced to life in prison plus 1,000 years. Considering all the years that he took from his victims, his sentence is well deserved.
Wow.
Unfortunately, he was not able to live out his sentence. Just a few weeks after being sentenced by a judge, Ariel hung himself in his jail cell. Number 2,
prison.
Bobby Joe Long.
With little girls,
Death.
they make
28 life sentences plus 99 years.
28 life.
Bobby Joe Long is a horrible man. In 1984, he tortured and murdered over 10 women in Tampa, Florida.
Ooh.
He would go out at night looking for women who were alone. They were usually prostitutes or strippers. He would act like a nice guy and invite them to his home. When they got there, he would overpower them and torture and kill them. He's currently on death row. He has gone through many appeals, but his sentence has never been changed.
Why would they change?
Number 3.
He appealing.
Martin
What
Bryant.
you appealing for, bro?
35 life sentences plus
35?
1,000 years.
It gotta be more to that.
Martin Bryant is
multiple
responsible
life
for the
sentences.
Port Arthur Massacre, which was the largest mass murder in the history of Australia. During the massacre, he killed 35 people and injured 23 more with 2 assault rifles.
He looked crazy.
During the trial, the court had him evaluated by a doctor. It was found that he suffered from a severe learning disability and has an IQ in the mid-60s. The doctors believed that his inability to reason is what could have caused him to carry out such a heinous crime. The judge gave him a sentence of 35 life sentences for each person that he killed, and then an additional 1,000 years. The judge wanted to be sure that Martin would never get out of prison. Number 4. James Egan Holmes. 12 life sentences plus 3,318 years.
Who comes up with that number?
James Egan Holmes was a student who was studying neuroscience. People who knew James stated that he seemed a bit off mentally. In July 2012, during a midnight showing of The Dark Knight Rises, James walked into an Aurora, Colorado movie theater and opened fire on the crowd. He killed 12 people and injured 70 more. He was convicted of first-degree murder, and the judge gave him a life sentence for each person that he killed. He was also sentenced to an additional 3,318 years for the attempted murder and mayhem that he caused that night. Number 5. Dudley Wayne Kaiser. 10,000 years.
What?
Dudley Wayne Kaiser was known as the Halloween Killer because he committed 3 heinous crimes on Halloween night. He shot his ex-wife, Emily, in the chest.
Wow.
He shot his mother-in-law, Eunice, in the head.
Woo.
And he shot a student named Richard Pyron in the head while he begged for his life. Since there was no death penalty in the state of Alabama, the judge sentenced him to 10,000 years in prison to ensure he would never be free again. Number 6. Darren Benelford Anderson.
Nobody gonna live
11,250
years.
These numbers, bruh.
Darren Benelford Anderson is a horrible man, along with crimes such as robbery, larceny, and kidnapping
a horrible
in the
man.
mid-90s.
Oh, you understand
He
about the
also
black dude, but
sexually
everybody else.
assaulted an old woman.
I know.
When
I
convicted, he
get
was
it.
sentenced to 200 years. He tried to appeal his sentence in 1997, and he was convicted again. This time, the judge sentenced him to 11,250 years in prison. Number 7. Alan Wayne McLaurin, 21,250 years.
Who's coming up
Alan
with
Wayne
these
McLaurin
numbers?
was Darren Beneford Anderson's partner in crime.
Oh, it was a partner.
He was convicted of the same crimes as Anderson and received a sentence of 21,250 years. When his lawyers appealed the case, he was reduced by 500 years. This still leaves him with a prison term of over 20,000 years. Considering the crimes that he was an accomplice to, he deserves every year he will be behind bars. Number 8. Charles Scott Robinson, 30,000 years.
He must have killed like 30 people.
Charles Scott Robinson was convicted in Oklahoma of sexually assaulting 6 children in 1994. The jurors in the case sentenced him to life without parole, which the judge thought was adequate. To make sure that Charles would never get out of prison, he made sure that Charles would never be paroled. Even if Charles were to be paroled after 13 to 15 years, it would take him over 75 years to actually be released. With a sentence of 30,000 years, Charles will never be free to hurt anyone again.
Good.
Number 9. Shamoy DiPiasso, 141,078 years. Shamoy DiPiasso was the wife of a high-ranking officer in the Thai Air Force. Over a few years, along with the help of 7 accomplices, Shamoy swindled over 16,000 people in a pyramid scheme where she had over $200 million of these people's money. She was caught in 1989 and sentenced to 141,078 years. The court system wanted to make sure she would never see the light of day again. Number 10. Patricia and Matthew Ayers, 1,590 years and 750 years respectively. Patricia and Matthew Ayers were arrested for producing massive amounts of child pornography. The couple was convicted, and Patricia was sentenced to 1,590 years in prison, and Matthew was sentenced to 750 years. The couple had custody of the child who was the subject of the child pornography. The judge in the cases stated that this was the worst case he had ever dealt with, and that the couple robbed the victim of her childhood and her soul. The couple put the child in lewd poses, and they also engaged in sex acts with the child while the other took photos. Patricia also sent the photos to a man in Texas and made arrangements for him to have sex with the child as well.
Trifling, busted,
Subscribe
crusty.
for more.
That's why she had the longer prison sentence. You know, because she doing crazy stuff like that.
That's
Some
just
people are just
disgusting.
insane in this world, bro.
What? How do you have that much evil in you? Like, I can't even understand that.
To where you can do that and live your life and be cool.
Like, how do you wake up every morning? But see, people
And look at
like
yourself
this,
in the mirror.
They're miserable, and they're clearly like they're not in the right mental space to do something like that.
Still, I just don't understand. It just don't make any sense to me. Yeah, like, how can you even wake up, brush your teeth, look up, and see yourself in the mirror? Like, yeah, you know, today after I eat breakfast, I'm about to set some new pictures with that young girl. Like, what? Like, what?
No, but these sentences didn't make no sense. Like, I don't understand why he needs to give somebody 140,000 years. Like, what?
I think I get it.
What? Why?
Because on one person, the dude talking, the narrator or whatever, he was like, the judge wanted to make sure that even if this person got paroled, it would take, I think he said 75 years. So So I'm guessing they give a whole bunch of years like that to where even if they make parole, it'll take like 70, 80 years for them to get parole.
Okay, but why would it drop down from 140,000 to 75?
Because I don't know, you know,
because usually sentences drop down from like 30 years. You might serve like 20 or 15 or something.
It dropped down a whole bunch.
140,000 to 75. That don't make sense.
It be dropping a whole bunch. Like we watched that show today. Remember, that was like, oh, since you killed that person, you can go in for life. But if you have good behavior, you can parole in 30 years. It'd be crazy stuff like that. I guess you can parole super early. So that's why.
Right, that's when that one dude, he appealed or whatever, they knocked off 500 years, but he still had like several 100,000. Anyway, this is a very interesting video. Weird, because some of these people are just gross human beings. But let us know what you thought about it. Make sure you like,
subscribe.
See you in the next one. Bye.
Peace.